Hey everyone, welcome back to the Art2Life podcast. I am so excited today because I am going to dive into some ways and strategies around balancing this life and art thing. I love this subject. And I actually write a lot of these little notes down in my book, in my journal, little ideas, and they're all piling up. And so I thought, man, I'll just tell you what I've been thinking and what's working for me. I got 10 of them today. These are going to be helpful in getting that balance. But before I do, you guys, right now, coming up very soon, we have this Art of Your Life free workshop. You guys, this is something we do once a year. It's going to be amazing. You can join in if you go to artlifefree.com and give us your information. It'll be coming out. I think we start on March 4th, but that's coming real soon. And anyway, we're going to be making art together. We've got incredible guests. I'm going to be teaching 3 of the most powerful Art2Life principles. This is a really incredible 5-day experience. So come along and check it out. And I can't wait to see you there. All right. So that having been said, let's dive in. Okay, so this balancing your art and life is tricky. So in the time we have here, I want to just hit how I think about this. What are the best practices I use to dial this in? I have a lot of things going, especially this time of year when we are getting the Creative Visionary program ready. This is our 12-week signature course that Art2Life produces. We do it every March. We're creating this incredible Make the Art of Your Life free workshop, which is an experience into itself. And there's a lot, and I'm making art and all the things. So number one, a schedule. This is important really for me for splitting up my art and my life, splitting up the things that I have to do, that I want to do, and I call it work, but it's like my art is part of that, and designating certain times of the week, certain times of the day to do this. And this is, and I talk a lot about differences, and I talk a lot about how to optimize your thinking, how to optimize your art, and I've talked a lot about it on this podcast. But when we have differences in our life, when we go for a walk in the middle of the day, when we make art after reading a book all day, or when we sit in silence after being many parties, there's an optimization that occurs. There's an aliveness that occurs from those differences. And we can set our life up to have that occur. It's about curation. Everything's about curation. Most of what I'm talking about in Art2Life is this idea of discernment. What are the things? How do you want to set this up? So what? So you can be really fired up, ready to go. You have energy. You're excited to get into the studio. Procrastination goes down. Confidence goes up. So really, this is what we're doing. This is when I'm talking about balance. I'm talking about setting this up. And in order to set that energy up, to set that frequency up for yourself, you have to balance things. Because out of balance, trust me, it's the worst. And I've done that plenty, and I continue to struggle with it. But these are the reminders I give myself. So that schedule, what would feel good? When is the best time to set aside that couple hours to make your art? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Really look at this schedule, look on Sunday, give a little bit of thought to the week. What's going to happen on Wednesday? And maybe Wednesday's going to be really busy, and so you can't really drop in. Maybe Thursday's better. I would recommend finding some times that work and defending those. These are the times that I do that, right? And that's super, super important. But it's this planning, getting out of the week a little ahead of time, that makes a huge difference for me. I try to make a week that I'm excited about doing. You know, and if there's nothing cool going on, you add something. If there's nothing celebratory happening, you add that. You're looking, you almost want to show someone this schedule and go, look at my life, you know? And what I love about this is a creative exercise. Okay, the second thing, and I'm going to go through 10 of these, so I'm going kind of quick, but it just might trigger some thoughts for you. Is around setting boundaries, clearly defining the boundaries between work and personal life. So the best way I can think of this is I used to worry 24/7 about my art and how it was going, whether it was going to turn out or not. And it was just something that I always thought about. And I thought that that's what I had to do in order to make my best art. It was like I was tending to this thing all the time. And it kind of, by the time I got to the studio, I was kind of exhausted. So I made this decision, and this is what was incredible. This happened. This all changed for me with one decision, and here's what it was. And this might, I know so many of you guys listening are artists and making art. I made the conscious decision about 6 years ago to not think about my art, worrying about it, unless I was making it. So that means even going to the studio and stressing out. I'm talking about only worry about that thing you're making when you have a paintbrush in your hand or when you're changing that thing. All the other times, it doesn't matter because you're not going to change it. And you can't really know, you can't think clearly unless you're in it. So even if you're thinking about it when you're not doing it, then that's not helpful anyway. So it's only helpful to be thinking about it when you can do something about it. And here's what's cool. Once you're making your art, that's not stressful. That's a different experience altogether. So even if you don't know what to do, once you're in the art making, you're getting information, you're looking at it, you're seeing colors. It's a whole nother experience. And then really, by that one simple move, you've gotten rid of the stress altogether. You just have to be able to, you've got that calendar. You know you're going to be showing up. So once that's covered, step one, right? Get that. Now, this step two, create those boundaries for yourself, right? That's a really, really powerful one that I've definitely taken advantage of. You don't want especially the creative part, the work part, the art part, you don't want that to become overflowing all the time into everything else because it gets, you lose objectivity. It becomes just too much. You want, ideally, to be gone for 2 weeks and walking into your studio and feel totally free and excited and just go for it. That's the vibe we're looking for, at least for me, that when I show up that way, unencumbered, I don't even know what my problems are, it's a vacation from my life, that tends to make the best art. Okay, and then this third one is kind of an obvious one. It's around self-care and prioritizing that. Of course, we all know it. The big three for me, the biggest one that I kind of never really, the last couple of years I've realized it is sleep. Everything's harder, darker, more difficult. You do less quality work if you haven't slept. And it's funny, the way that I've gotten to getting this is turning off the machines, trying to go to bed, reading, trying to go get in that like horizontal place and not going straight to sleep. I like to leave the light on for a while. I like to just think about things, but it's low key. Having half an hour when the lights are low, and I've been doing this thing with Cherie, my sweetheart, where I'll read. We'll read to each other, and like that's really great. something that there's a transition, but that's helped my sleep a lot. I used to just like slap the computer down and just like go to bed. I got to go to bed. It's 10:30, and my brain was still going. So that transition's a really important one. Exercise, I try and do something every day. Every single day I do something. I break a sweat every single day. I find that, and it doesn't have to be much. You just want the pattern. I'm a big runner, and I can't really run. I used to run, the minimum I would run would be an hour, up until about a year ago. And I wouldn't even run if I didn't have that amount of time. I'd run for an hour at least, even more. But what I've come to realize is you end up not doing things because your bar is too high. 30 minutes, if I have 30 minutes, if I can jump on the treadmill, I can do a thing, then I'll do it. Because what I want consistency. I want to set up the pattern for this, so I'm doing it. And it's okay, little and often, right? This is something that we talk a lot about in Art2Life. It's how I coach artists around getting into their art. You don't have to do a big, huge thing. What you want is just like a little bit, just drop into your art a little bit. That creates the pattern. It's the pattern of repetition that gives you the outcomes, right? So little and often, 30 minutes is fine. Just break a sweat. At least you did a thing. And I just do something every day. There's no rest days here. I'll just run less hard on one day, or I'll work out in an easier way. Having a rest day, having a thing where you're like, I'm not doing anything, I don't know, I just find it easier for me to just be like, nope, I just do a thing. It's just so good to move. It's so good for your well-being, right? And then diet, that's of course subjective, but I've been doing a lot of blood work and getting a lot of information back, and it's just something you got to work on, what you eat, what you drink, all the things, how you feel, and that's pretty obvious, so I won't talk about that much, but those three, gigantic. Now, the third one is around planning. And I sort of touched on it with the, about the schedule and working out your calendar and everything, but planning in general. If you think of planning as a creative exercise, if you think of planning it's the #1 stress reducer for me. Not only is it kind of enjoyable to do, because when you're planning, you're not last minute. You're planning, you're ahead of it. You have options. There's an invitation in it to figure it out. Like, well, maybe where are we going to do a workshop this year? We're looking at all these places. How do I want my year to look? We're going to be going to Morocco, but do I want to go to Mexico? And when would I do that? And where does the workshop? All those kinds of ideas and planning, it gives you energy. And if you plan something ahead of time, it is way, way less stressful. It's just putting that intention, and really it's about a mini intention. It's calming. And what I especially love about planning and why I do it a lot is it lifts my energy. It gives me juice. I'm really aware of all the ways in which we spill our energy. Being an artist and making something and pushing something out into the world is super hard. And you got to be the best version of yourself to do this, I swear. I mean, I think, I really believe that just making art in a room by yourself, as incredible as it is, wears you down. I don't anyway, come out of that experience all the time feeling more confident. I feel like I just put my heart, on a chopping board, and I'm trying to do this thing. It doesn't always work. It's not always successful. And that's just part of it, and I wouldn't have it any other way, but this is what planning can help with, when you really you can build up the energy where you put something out and you've got a plan there, and you've got energy, more energy coming in because of it. it's also something you can do with your partner or whoever you're involved with because they're not stressed out. And it's collaborative, which I love. Things where you can bring in other people, it makes them better, right? It's like, and there's more possibility. The idea that the thing isn't nailed down and that it's still open is a great feeling. So planning your year, planning your vacations, planning your art, all the things. What are the things you're going to need? Because once you have a plan, once you have an idea of where you're going, now you get to start figuring out what are the tools, what are the resources, what are the people who are going to help me pull this off. And that's a whole journey. That's a whole fun thing, right? Like I'm looking at this place in San Miguel to do a workshop, but I haven't been there to this one place, and I'll always go. I try to always go to a place. If I'm going to have a workshop and we're all going to go, I want it to be next level. I want to try the food. I want to see the place. What's the temperature, you know? And so I got to plan a trip down there, which is kind of exciting because I kind of want to go. So you get it, right? You see how this is an uptick. Okay, and then the fourth one, learning to say no. Super hard for me. I am a 7 on the Enneagram, and I say yes to everything, and I'll do it all. I try to do it all, and there's a real dark side to this, frankly. You know, I've taken on too much many times. So it's something that I've had to learn the hard way. But learning to say no to opportunities is hard for me. And I think it's hard for all of us. We work towards getting things coming and people, and we have people in our lives, and there's never enough time. But here's the reframe that has me able to say no. And it goes something like this. If I say no to this, dinner thing, or going away to this special mastermind, or what is the opportunity that I would be able to take advantage of because I have that extra time, right? There's always something, you lose something if whatever you spend your time on means you're going to say no to something else. So if I think about by saying no, what could I say yes to? What would be even more aligned for me? What would be even more exciting if I said no to this thing? That kind of works for the kind of person I am. And I'm moving again towards energy. If this party thing sounds really fun, I only know a couple people, but it sounds pretty cool, I'm not totally sure, maybe I won't go, and instead I'll throw a dinner party of my 5 closest friends who are always inspiring me, and I'll do that on that night, So that's my little hack on saying no. But make no mistake about it, you have to start prioritizing the things that bring you alive and start limiting things that you're just arbitrarily saying yes to. This is about curation. This is about discernment. This whole game, this whole thing, your art, your life, all of it. Okay, the next one is around delegation. Big, hard one for me who does everything myself. I've always done everything myself, but calculating the amount of time you spend making your art, creating the income for yourself, it's really important to have time to do that, obviously. And if you get caught in the weeds all the time of doing all kinds of to-dos and all kinds of tasks, that just really can take you out of the most important work. There's a great book that I would recommend called Buy Back Your Time, and I'll put a link to a link in the show notes to it. But it's all about calculating your hourly wage based on how much money you're making. And I've done this in the past where I figured out I would sell 6 out of 10 paintings and they took this amount of time, and therefore my hourly was X. And you can kind of do that. And then if for there's certain things, lots of things that probably you're doing that you could hire an assistant to help you do. Early on, I saw this problem, but it was really complicated. I had all these images and I had all these paintings, and that's why I started creating image ID numbers for paintings. So I could work with somebody to help me put these 4 images in the database, send this image here, photograph that image, these 7 images someone wants a PDF of. This is why I ended up doing that, so I could create some kind of a process for myself so somebody could help me. So how could somebody help you? How could you be more organized so somebody could come in and do that brush cleaning once a week, or once a week they can go to the art store and get your materials, or once a week, setting up a weekly come in for 4 hours. Trust me, you'll fill it if you know someone's coming in for 4 or 5 hours. You will fill that time. That's what I've done, where I just set it up. I know I can find something for 4 or 5 hours, but it helps to, again, plan. Okay, I know they're coming in for 5 hours. I will leave this for them. I'll leave that for them, and it frees you up. So this is really important. We're talking about spaciousness. We're talking about discernment, curation. Do the things that move the needle. Do the things that light you up, and try to start moving some of the things that are more mundane, that are not in your wheelhouse, to get help having that done. The 6th one is around having a dedicated workspace. This is super important. I have 2 of them. I have one here at the house, and I'm doing this podcast, by the way, because the entire Bay Area lost its power last night, and we've had this crazy storm. And I went down to the studio today, and sure enough, there's no power there. So I would normally be doing this in the studio, so I turned the car around and came back home, and so I'm doing it from here. And I have a little studio here. It's nothing more than really all it is just part of an old dining room table. But it's got my art supplies, it's got a set of paints, it's got some sketchbooks, some paintbrushes, it's got, some technology in case I want to share what I'm doing or take pictures. And it's really, really great. And it's not that I work there that much, because I got a whole scene at the studio, but the thing about having your stuff out ready to go is because it fires you up. It's just really cool. There's the possibility for me in my house. It's Saturday, whatever, I gotta stay home and wait for the Comcast guy to come or whatever, and I have an hour. Oh my God, I can just do a little art. There it is, waiting. And even if I don't, when I see all my stuff organized and laid out like that, I get energized, I get juiced. I have a lot of people ask around, getting your kids, how do you get your kids into art? And what if they're not into it? And you're an artist, but your kids aren't. And, and my kids are very super creative. And the thing that we did that made such a difference, so I guess I'm just talking to moms and dads here, but we had on the kitchen table always a giant ream of paper. You can go to Office Club and you can get 500 sheets of paper for $7, white bond paper. And then we had a jar full of sharpened Prismacolor pencils. You pay $60 and you get 100 of them, all those colors, and an electric pencil sharpener. And so we sharpen them all, and that's actually really fun to do with your kids. And so you have all this white paper and a brand new, beautiful, sharp Prismacolor pencils always on the table. I mean, I cannot tell you the hours of incredible art making, memories, and just being creative with the people you love in your life. I mean, this doesn't have to be for 7-year-olds, right? This could just be always have it out. Why wouldn't you? Who can resist that? So this is about the dedicated space. This is about creating little islands for you to see your materials and for you to drop in easily. But if your art supplies are in a Tupperware container and you only get to pull them out on the weekends if no one's around and you don't really have a place to work to call your own, even if it's the side of a table, I really suggest doing this. You're out of balance. You need the visual reminder. You need to feel that the possibility is there. You know, you can have the same experience thinking about making art as you do making art. Like there's benefits, you get benefits from both of that. Those experiences, they're not that dissimilar. So set that up for yourself. Really, really important. Okay, the next one is on mindfulness. Obviously, this is subjective. This is however you want to be more connected to the inside of who you are and who you are becoming. And, you know, the way I think about it and the challenge I have, and you might relate to this, is that I'm in my head all the time. I mean, I'm thinking about all the things I have to do. I'm figuring out what's the best way to talk about these points today. I wrote an outline, but I have to schedule a guy to come to the house because we have a big hole in the yard because our septic system broke, and but it's muddy, but I got to call him tomorrow, and if I don't, and then the insurance, and I am just, you know, we're up here a lot most of the time. So when I think of mindfulness, I don't really like that word because, you know, I'm in the mind all the freaking time. Where I want to be is I want to drop in, down, lower into the center of me. We talked a lot, an episode or two ago about that word, right? And mine is heart this year. And the reason is because I'm trying to friggin' get out of my head all the time and be more in the emotional body, more in the center of myself. So when I think of mindfulness, that's what I try to drop into. And it's really interesting, you know, I can be in a situation now. So I'm, you know, yes, sometimes like I'll get up in the morning and I'll go into the hot tub and like, that's really cool. And, you know, just be by myself. But where I'm finding this practice, where it's helping me a lot is just throughout my day. What I do is when something is, I have a lot of stuff going on or I got to create this thing, I try to just take a moment to feel what it is, how I'm being, what it is I want the end result to feel like. What does this want to feel like? And, you know, I've been talking a lot about this Art of Your Life workshop that's coming up. And it's kind of different than what we've done in the past. I'm emphasizing a whole bunch of new things, really underlining authenticity and really dropping into the emotional part of art making, to the life part of art making. And that is what I'm interested in, and it comes because of this whole focus on heart. But the check-in for me on talking about it, on what I'm including, what we're going to be doing together, all the creative exercises, it's all related to how I want it to feel. If I can spend 30 minutes in the heart, that would be such a win in my day. I think it makes for a better Nick. I really do. And it's a work in progress for sure. But anyway, that's some thoughts about, you know, because it's easy to throw these words around. I'll be more mindful, you know. It's about paying attention. But for me, it's just, I mean, you can feel it when you go from up here and it's crazy and it's airy and all kinds of things. And it's just like a traffic jam up there. and you can drop down into the center, that's a different, you can just feel it, you know, and more and more and more, I'm trying to come from that place. I love that metaphor of, you know, the ocean can be a storm up above, you know, with these huge waves and the wind, and it's just like super gnarly up there. But you go down about 20 feet under the ocean and it's calm, right? That's what we're talking about here, and that's how I like to think of that. So anyway, that might be something that, you know, a way for you to drop in. It doesn't have to be this big, huge meditation practice, but it can be little moments, little possibilities in the day. Okay, so the other one is around assessing and adjusting your schedule and workload. When things get out of balance, you don't want to just run the week because that's what you set up for yourself. You have to be able to adjust. This is a find your way as you go exercise. You are just learning and creating a pattern of activity, a pattern of way of being that works for you. And you can't possibly get it right the first go. You have to modify it. You gotta keep changing it. I mean, I set off this morning to go to the studio and I had this huge plan and then the power's out, you know? So it's like, oh my God, the whole day is completely changed, you know? But have that, right? Have that assessment ready. Be able to adjust so you can manage your time better. You just got to be able to give yourself a break. It's like, this is a work in progress. And then the next one is around these activities beyond your art. You know, what are the things that bring you alive? And I know for so many of you who've done the Creative Visionary program, we start there. We start with frequency, with energy, how to get your juice going. We do that as human beings through involving ourselves in what matters to us, what lights us up. I mean, I was thinking about it on the way home, and I was thinking of, you know, a kind of weird quirk I have, but I just absolutely love it. And I've never even said it out loud. My two daughters know this, but I love eating oranges in a hot tub. When my daughters were little, I used to carry them out to this hot tub on our property, and I would always grab an orange, and we'd sit out there at night in the storms, you know, these two little kids and me, and we would eat this orange. And I maybe because, you know, you can't get your hands sticky, and, you know, they're kind of a mess, but you can throw the peel in the garden, and it's just this lovely, it's just the opposite. You know, that's just such a beautiful compliment to sitting in this hot water. You get this really sweet kind of fruit, you know, and there's a whole thing of peeling it, and it's just, and I just love that. I love that, doing that, and I still do it. I have a little tangerine tree. I live in the property that I grew up in, actually. I purchased this home from my sister when my mother passed a few years ago, and Cherie and I are fixing it up and everything. But there's this tangerine tree, and I didn't even know it was a tangerine tree, but when I moved in, I started watering things, you know, because my mom didn't do that. This tree just produces a ton of tangerines. It's so cool to have a tree that makes those little like mandarin oranges, and it's right off the patio, and I can go down there and I grab a handful of them. So I'm always having tangerines, oranges in this hot tub. You know, doing it by myself mostly, but it's pretty cool. So anyway, but pay attention to those things that light you up, right? That, you know, for me, it's running, or it's the biking, or it's just, I've started to do this really cool hiking. It's a route up Mount Tamalpais. I don't know if many of you have been to Bay Area, but one of the cool things to do is you can hike to the top of this mountain here. And there's this amazing trail that you go up, and it's got this halfway up, there's this giant rock called Geronimo Rock, and that's where Chief Geronimo, there's this amazing quote by him up there. You know, he's like this Indian who, you know, part of this tribe in this area. And, you know, there's just so much history up there, but it's so grounding to go up there. And then you get to the top and you can just see forever, and there's a different way to come down, and you go past all these waterfalls and stuff. So I guess this is a long-winded way of saying you need those. This is so, so important to hold on to those activities. It is what fuels the art. You think that, oh my God, if I don't make my art, I go do these other things, it's going to take away, and I won't have time, and it won't be good. And it's like quite the opposite. Get yourself fired up, get yourself juiced and in your fire, and then this is what's going to make your art amazing. Your art, all you have to do to get your art incredible is to make it when you feel a certain way. And that goes a long way. I'm going to be talking about this a lot during this Art of Your Life workshop. In fact, that kind of is what I'm talking about. The art of your life. This is what we're after. And I'm not talking about just like, oh, wait, do these kind of paintings. What is the art that's just going to blow your mind, that you absolutely love, that you can't believe you've made this, that this art fires you up so much, and that it's the kind of art that keeps you up at night, you know? That's what we're chasing. That's what we're going. That's the art of your life. Anyway, I'm going to be going more into that, in the workshop. So again, artlifefree.com. Go check it out. Sign up for it. It's going to be so fun. But anyway, those non-artistic hobbies, hobbies is not a really good word for it. It's things that light you up. Write them down. Involve yourself in them. If you're hearing this right now, what have you not been doing lately? And you don't need to go to a 2-hour yoga class. Just do 20 minutes on your patio right now or whatever, All right, so those are 10 of the sort of buckets, categories, reminders that I give myself. And that's what piled up in my book. These are what I've been using lately to stay in motion and keep my energy fired up, because this is going to be an incredible year. And I'm so excited for all that's coming for Art2Life and just all the things that we're making. So you guys, again, check out that workshop, artlifefree.com. We're going to be doing art together this year. It's going to be a little different. I've planned some really cool things. And let me know, leave a review for this podcast if this was helpful. I'd super, super appreciate it. You guys, I hope you have an awesome week, and I will talk to you real soon. Okay, thanks for being here. Bye.